The shuttle touched down on Velris 9 with a soft hiss of landing jets. Captain Jiho Kim stepped out first, his boots making solid contact with the alien soil. The air was thick and humid, almost like breathing soup. Behind him, Dr. Hana Park adjusted her data pad, already scanning the environment. Lieutenant Doyen Choi followed, eyes moving constantly, reading the landscape like a hunter. Engineer Minho Lee came last, grinning despite the oppressive heat. Velris 9 was not a welcoming planet. Dense jungle stretched in every direction, broken only by the fortified walls of the council outpost. The sky above was a sickly green, and strange calls echoed from the forest. Everything about this place screamed danger. The human team had expected that. What they had not expected was the cold reception from the aliens waiting for them. Ambassador Velthar stood at the landing platform, towering over his staff. He was Krethian, a species that looked like someone had crossed a lizard with a tank, 8 feet tall, covered in scales that shimmered like black glass with claws that could tear through steel plating. His yellow eyes watched the humans with something that looked like disappointment. "Welcome to Velris 9, Velthar said, his voice a deep rumble that the translation device turned into flat words. "I confess I expected your species to send more capable representatives." His gaze swept over the 4 humans, none of whom topped 6 feet. No armor plating, no natural weapons, no enhanced sensory organs. "How did your species survive long enough to reach the stars?" Jiho smiled politely. "We managed." Hana was already taking notes, her fingers dancing across the datapad. She had read every file available on the Krethians, apex predators on their homeworld, evolved from ambush hunters who dominated their food chain for millions of years. They saw the universe through the lens of predator and prey, and right now they clearly thought humans were prey. The tour of the outpost was brief. Velthar pointed out the energy barriers that kept the local wildlife at bay. He showed them the armory, stocked with weapons designed for species with natural armor and enhanced strength. He explained the protocols for handling predator breaches, all of which involved retreating to safe zones and waiting for the creatures to leave. "The jungle is not a place for soft species," Velthar said as they walked through the outpost. "Many have tried to prove themselves here. Most failed. The strong survive. The weak become part of the ecosystem." He glanced at the humans. "I suggest you stay within the barriers." Doyen exchanged a look with Jiho. Both men had spent years in survival situations. They had trained in jungles, deserts, mountains, and Arctic wastes. Earth was not a gentle planet. It had tried to kill humanity in 1,000 different ways, and humanity had survived them all. This place looked dangerous, sure, but so did the Korean mountains where Doyen had hunted as a boy. The welcoming ceremony was held in the main hall. Representatives from a dozen alien species gathered to meet the humans. Most kept their distance. A few made polite conversation, but their body language spoke volumes. They did not take humans seriously. Why would they? Humans had no claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. By the standards of the galaxy, humans were walking snacks. The alarm started during the speeches. Red lights flashed throughout the hall. A harsh voice crackled over the speakers, speaking in a dozen languages at once. "Perimeter breach. Eastern sector. Class 5 predator. All personnel to safe zones. Repeat, all personnel to safe zones." The aliens moved with practiced efficiency, not panicked but quick. They had done this before. Velthar's scales shifted color, a sign of alertness in his species. He gestured toward the reinforced doors at the back of the hall. "This way. The creature will be contained or driven off within the hour." But the humans were already moving toward the windows. Hana pulled up a tactical display on her pad, locating the breach. Doyen checked his rifle, a weapon the aliens had permitted him to carry only because their regulations required it. Minho was grinning like someone had just told him they were going to an amusement park. "What are you doing?" Velthar demanded. "Our job," Jiho said simply. "We are supposed to be learning about this planet. Can't do that from a safe room." Through the windows they could see it now. The Thornback. It had broken through the eastern energy barrier during a power fluctuation, and now it stood in the open plaza between the buildings. 12 feet tall, covered in bony plates that looked like they could stop a missile. Claws like curved swords, a mouthful of teeth designed to crush armor, it roared. The sound was incredible, a bass rumble that shook the windows and made several of the smaller aliens freeze in place. It was a sound designed by evolution to trigger fear, to make prey animals stop thinking and start running. On its homeworld, that roar probably ended hunts before they began. Jiho yawned, not from boredom or disrespect. It was just a yawn. He had been traveling for 3 weeks and was genuinely tired. But the timing made several aliens stare at him in confusion. The thornback had just produced the most intimidating sound in its arsenal, and the human had yawned. "Interesting bone structure," Hana said, zooming in on the creature with her pad. "Those plates are impressive, but they limit mobility. See how it has to turn its whole body? Blind spots on both flanks." Doyen studied the creature with the practiced eye of someone who had tracked dangerous animals. 12 feet tall means high center of gravity. It is built for strength, not speed. My grandfather hunted Siberian tigers with less equipment than we have. "You cannot be serious," Velthar said. "That is a thornback. They are classified as apex predators. Council security teams require heavy weapons and air support to handle them." "Sure," Minho said, still grinning, "but you are trying to fight it head on. That is not how you hunt something bigger than you." The humans moved before Velthar could stop them, not toward the safe zones but toward the plaza. They did not run. They walked with purpose, spreading out in a pattern that looked random but was anything but. Jiho went left. Doyen went right. Hana stayed back, watching the creature's reactions. Minho grabbed a piece of equipment from a nearby storage unit. The thornback noticed them. It turned, confused. Prey was supposed to run. These small creatures were walking toward it. The creature's brain, honed by millions of years of evolution, did not have a response ready for this situation. Minho activated the equipment, creating a loud noise that echoed off the buildings. The thornback's head snapped toward the sound. While it was distracted, Doyen moved to higher ground, using a loading ramp to get a better angle. Jiho circled to the creature's left flank, moving into one of the blind spots Hana had identified. The humans were not communicating, at least not in any way the watching aliens could detect. No radio chatter, no hand signals. They just moved, each one knowing where the others would be, what they would do. It was like watching a dance they had practiced 1,000 times. The thornback, frustrated and confused, made a decision. It charged, not at all of them, but at the one making noise. Minho. The creature covered ground fast, its massive legs eating up distance. For a moment, it looked like the human had made a fatal mistake. Then Minho dove aside at the last possible second, and the thornback slammed into the storage unit instead. Metal crumpled. The creature staggered, dazed. In that moment of confusion, Doyen fired 3 precise shots, not at the armor but at the joints where the plates connected. Jiho threw something that burst into foam, covering the creature's eyes and nose. Hana shouted coordinates, guiding them to the creature's weak points. It was over in 90 seconds. The thornback collapsed, not dead but neutralized. Tranquilizers from Doyen's rifle were already taking effect. The creature would wake up in a few hours with a headache and hopefully a new respect for small bipeds. The humans regrouped in the center of the plaza, checking each other for injuries. Finding none, they walked back toward the main hall as if they had just finished a routine training exercise. Velthar met them at the door. His scales were cycling through colors the translation software could not interpret. Finally, he managed to speak. "How did you do that?" "You had no telepathy. No hive mind. Yet you moved as one unit." "Practice," Jiho said. "Humans have been hunting in groups for hundreds of thousands of years. We are good at it." "But that was a thornback," Velthar insisted. "An apex predator," Doyen shrugged. "On Earth we have crocodiles that can bite through bone. Bears that weigh 1,000 pounds, big cats that can kill with one bite. Snakes that can drop you in seconds, and sharks that smell blood from miles away. Oh, and we have Australia, where even the cute animals are trying to murder you." He paused. "Your thornback would not last a week in some parts of my home planet." Hana pulled up images on her pad. "This is a polar bear. This is a saltwater crocodile. This is a hippo, which kills more people per year than most predators. And this," she zoomed in on a small spider, "can kill an adult human with one bite. Earth did not make us apex predators by giving us claws or armor. It made us apex predators by forcing us to get smart or die." Velthar stared at the images. His scales had settled into a color that Hana's database identified as deep confusion, mixed with dawning respect. "We hunted bigger back home," Jiho said quietly. Then he smiled. "But thank you for the warm-up. Now, should we continue the tour?" The story of the thornback incident spread through the outpost like wildfire. By morning, every species on Velrus 9 had heard some version of the tale. Most dismissed it as exaggeration. A few prey species saw the humans as potential protectors, but Scout Commander Thrix, leader of the Vexian military contingent, saw it as an insult. Thrix was not like Velthar. Where the Krethian was massive and armored, the Vexian was sleek and deadly. 8 feet of chitin and razor-sharp mandibles with compound eyes that could see in multiple spectrums. His species had evolved from hive insects that hunted in swarms, overwhelming prey with numbers and coordination. They were feared throughout the galaxy as efficient killers. He found the humans in the outpost cafeteria 3 days after their arrival. Jiho was eating something that looked questionable. Hana was reviewing data. Doyen was cleaning his rifle, and Minho was trying to fix a broken coffee maker that the aliens had given up on weeks ago. Humans, Thrix said, his mandibles clicking. The translation device made it sound cold and formal. I hear you claim to be hunters. Jiho looked up from his meal. We never claimed anything. We just dealt with a situation. The thornback was luck, Thrix continued. A creature of strength, not skill. I propose a real test. A sanctioned hunt. The target is a gloom runner. He pulled up an image on his device. The creature looked like someone's nightmare, all shadow and teeth and too many limbs. Hana leaned forward, immediately interested. Nocturnal predator, chameleonic skin, natural echolocation, perfectly silent movement, impressive. More than impressive, Thrix said. Deadly. Even Vexian squads struggle to hunt them. We require overwhelming numbers and heavy firepower. You mammals with your slow reflexes and limited senses have no chance. His mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. But council regulations allow you to try. If you survive, perhaps you earn some respect. Minho got the coffee maker working and poured himself a cup. When do we start? Thrix's eyes glittered. Dawn tomorrow. I will track your progress remotely. When you fail, I will extract you. Try not to die. After the Vexian left, Doyen looked at Jiho. He thinks we are going to hunt it like he would. Crush in, try to kill it fast. We are not going to do that, Jiho said. No. Hana agreed, pulling up more data on the Gloom Runner. We are going to do what humans do best. We are going to walk it to death. They entered the jungle at first light. The Gloom Runner's territory was 50 miles from the outpost, deep in the densest part of the forest. The air was thick with moisture and strange smells. Sounds came from every direction, most of them threatening. It was the kind of place that made most species nervous. The humans walked steadily, following signs that Thrix probably could not see. A bent branch here, disturbed soil there. Hana tracked environmental changes, noting where the smaller animals avoided certain areas. Doyen read the forest like a book, his years of hunting experience translating perfectly to this alien environment. By noon, they had located the Gloom Runner's den. They did not approach it. Instead, they marked the location and kept walking, circling the territory, learning the creature's patterns. When night fell, they made camp in a defensible position and set up a rotation for watch. 2 slept while 2 stayed alert. It was a pattern as old as human civilization. The Gloom Runner attacked at midnight. One moment there was nothing. The next, shadow and claws materialized from the darkness. It moved fast, silent, perfect. Minho, who was on watch, rolled aside just in time. The creature's claws tore through his sleeping bag instead of through him. Lights flared. Weapons fired. The Gloom Runner screamed, a sound like tearing metal, and vanished back into the night. Everyone okay? Jiho asked. Fine, Minho said, his heart still racing. That thing is fast. It is scared, Hana said, examining the attack pattern. It hit fast and ran. That is not how apex predators behave. It is testing us. Good, Doyun said, checking his rifle. Now it knows we fight back. Let's see how it handles day 2. At dawn, they broke camp and continued tracking. Not chasing. Just following. They found where the Gloom Runner had fled to. They found its backup den. They found its hunting grounds. And they kept walking. Thrix contacted them at noon. What are you doing? You should have engaged the target by now. We are engaging it, Jiho replied. Just not the way you would. The Gloom Runner attacked again that night. This time it was more desperate, more aggressive. It came at them twice, testing different angles. Each time the humans fought it off without killing it. Each time it fled back into the darkness. Each time they patched their wounds, adjusted their camp, and prepared for the next attack. It is getting frustrated, Hana noted on the 3rd morning. It is used to prey that either dies or runs away. We are doing neither. How long can we keep this up? Minho asked. Longer than it can, Doyen said simply. They walked through day 3. The Gloom Runner followed them now, no longer trying to hide. It was tired, confused. Nothing in its evolutionary history had prepared it for prey that simply refused to quit. Every time it attacked, they drove it off. Every time it tried to rest, they found it and kept walking. Not attacking, just present, always present. Thrix watched from his remote monitors, his compound eyes wide. He had pulled up Earth's biological data, trying to understand what he was seeing. The information was incredible. Humans could walk for hours without stopping. They could regulate their body temperature through sweating, an adaptation almost unique in the galaxy. They could track prey across vast distances using nothing but patience and observation. His species had evolved to hunt in bursts. Quick strikes, overwhelming force, then rest. The idea of following prey for days was alien to him. Literally alien. No species in the Council hunted this way. It seemed impossible. Cruel even. But it was working. On the morning of day 4, they found the Gloom Runner collapsed in a dry stream bed. It was still breathing, but barely moving. Its camouflage flickered weakly. The biological systems too exhausted to maintain the effect. When Jiho approached, it tried to hiss a warning, but even that came out weak. It is done, Hana said softly. Heat exhaustion, dehydration, and complete physical collapse. It cannot run anymore. Jiho knelt beside the creature, careful to stay out of range of its claws. He pulled out a tracking beacon and attached it to the creature's hide. For the wildlife management program, he explained to his team. They will pick it up, treat it, and relocate it. We are not going to kill it? Minho asked. Why would we? Doyen said. The hunt is over. We proved what we needed to prove. Thrix met them at the edge of the territory. He stood silent for a long moment, his mandibles moving in patterns the translator struggled to interpret. Finally, he spoke. I do not understand. You did not use superior speed. You did not use superior strength. You did not even use superior numbers. How did you succeed? Hana pulled up images on her pad. This is the African savanna where humans evolved. It is hot, open. Prey animals there are faster than humans, stronger than humans, better armed than humans. So our ancestors developed a different strategy. They learned to follow prey until it could not run anymore. It is called persistence hunting. A human can run a marathon, Jiho added. 26 miles. We are the only species on Earth that can do that. We can walk all day every day in heat that would kill most animals. We sweat to stay cool. We carry water. We track prey over distances that would seem impossible. And we never ever stop. Doyen looked at the Vexian commander. Your species hunts in bursts. Fast, hard, overwhelming. It is a good strategy. But humans hunt with time. We are not the fastest or the strongest, but we are the most patient. And patience always wins in the end. Thrix's mandibles clicked rapidly. On his world, such endurance would be considered unnatural. A curse, his species could sprint, but they tired quickly. The idea of walking for 4 days straight, sleeping in shifts, never truly resting, seemed like torture. You are not warriors, he said finally. You are something worse. We are hunters, Jiho corrected gently. Always have been. Always will be. As they walked back to the outpost, Thrix followed in silence. His respect was grudging but real. He had learned something important about humans. They did not win through superiority. They won through stubbornness. And in a galaxy full of apex predators, that made them the most dangerous species of all. The emergency call came in the middle of the night. A council research team had gone missing in the Northern Territories, last seen investigating megafauna migration patterns. Their final transmission mentioned a creature classified as Threat Level Omega, the highest danger rating in Council taxonomy. After that, silence. Ambassador Velthar assembled a rescue team in the operations center. The room was filled with the best warriors from multiple species. Krethian shock troops with armor plating, Vexian scouts with enhanced senses, heavy weapons specialists from 3 different worlds. It was an impressive display of force. The target is a colossal ravager, Velthar announced, pulling up an image that made several aliens shift nervously. The creature was massive, 40 feet tall, built like a living mountain. Its hide was reinforced with metallic compounds that gleamed in the light. This is the apex of apex predators. We will use overwhelming firepower. Multiple kill teams, air support. The goal is extraction of survivors, not engagement if avoidable. Jiho studied the tactical display. You are bringing enough firepower to level a city block. Previous encounters with Ravagers required no less, Velthar replied. Their hide deflects energy weapons. Their mass makes kinetic weapons ineffective. They have no natural predators, no vulnerabilities, no weaknesses. They are perfect. Nothing is perfect, Hana said quietly, downloading the biological data to her pad. Everything has weaknesses, especially things that think they don't have predators. The rescue force deployed at dawn. 6 heavy transports, 2 gunships, and enough firepower to fight a small war. The humans rode in the last transport with Velthar, studying the data while the ambassador explained previous encounters. Every story ended the same way. Massive casualties, tactical retreats, survivors lucky to escape with their lives. The Ravager does not hunt, Velthar explained. It guards territory. It sees everything in its domain as potential food. The research team likely stumbled into its range and became trapped. They found the researchers in a canyon, huddled behind makeshift barriers. The Ravager stood at the canyon's only exit, a living wall of armored flesh. It was not actively attacking. It did not need to. It simply waited, knowing the trapped prey would eventually have to come to it. All units engage, Velthar commanded. The Council forces opened fire. Energy cannons lit up the morning sky. Kinetic rounds hammered the creature from multiple angles. Missiles streaked in from the gunships. The noise was incredible, a sustained roar of military might. The Ravager barely seemed to notice. Oh, it reacted. It turned toward the attackers, its massive head swiveling to track threats. But the weapons just scorched its hide or bounced off its armor. It was like trying to hurt a tank with a water pistol. When it moved with terrifying speed for something so large. One casual swipe of its clawed foot sent a gunship spinning out of control. Tactical retreat, Velthar ordered. Fall back and regroup. We need heavier ordnance. Wait, Hana said. She was staring at her pad, fingers flying across the screen. I need 5 more minutes of engagement. Keep shooting. 5 minutes of wasting ammunition? Velthar's scales flushed with frustration. Trust us, Jiho said. The ambassador growled but gave the order. The Council forces continued their assault. The Ravager continued to ignore them, though it was clearly getting annoyed. It stomped and roared, but it did not leave its position guarding the canyon. Hana was watching thermal readings, respiration rates, movement patterns. She was building a profile of the creature, not as a predator but as a biological system. Everything she saw confirmed her suspicion. Cease fire, she said. I know how to beat it. The weapons fell silent. In the sudden quiet, they could hear the Ravager's breathing. It was heavy, labored. Steam rose from its hide. It is overheating, Hana explained, turning her pad so Velthar could see. Look at the thermal signature. That armor that makes it invulnerable also traps heat. Its mass means it generates massive amounts of body heat just by existing. In this climate, with this atmosphere, it should be in constant danger of heat stroke. That is why it is not chasing you, Doyun added. It is already at its thermal limit. If it exerts itself more, it will literally cook itself from the inside. Velthar stared at the creature. You are saying the apex predator of Velris 9 is defeated by the weather? By its own adaptations, Hana corrected. Armor is great until it becomes a liability. Size is wonderful until it makes you vulnerable to environmental factors. This thing evolved in a colder climate and probably near water sources. Here in this heat in an enclosed canyon it is struggling. Minho grinned. So we just need to make it a little hotter. Absolutely not, Velthar said. We cannot kill it. Council regulations protect threat-level Omega species. We are not going to kill it, Jiho said. We are just going to make it uncomfortable. Minho pulled equipment from the transport. Not weapons. Thermal generators. The kind used to keep buildings warm in cold climates. He rigged them around the canyon entrance, setting them to maximum output. Within minutes, the temperature in the enclosed space began to climb. The Ravager noticed immediately. Its breathing became more labored. It shifted its weight, clearly uncomfortable. Steam rose from its body in visible waves now. Now we make it move, Doyun said. He and Jiho positioned themselves on opposite sides of the canyon, careful to stay out of reach. They fired shots not at the creature but near it. Loud noises, bright lights, anything to provoke movement. The Ravager roared and took a few steps forward. That small movement generated more heat. Its body temperature climbed. It took a few more steps trying to reach its tormentors. More heat. It was caught in a trap of its own biology. After 20 minutes, the creature made a decision. It turned away from the canyon entrance and lumbered toward the river that ran through the valley. Not fleeing from predators, but fleeing from heat, it needed to cool down more than it needed to guard its territory. The humans walked past it to reach the trapped researchers. "Do not run," Jiho told the researchers. "Walk calmly. It is too hot to chase right now." The extraction was completed without a single shot fired at the Ravager. The creature stood in the river, submerged up to its shoulders, watching them leave with what might have been confusion. Back at the outpost, Velthar called an emergency meeting. His scales were cycling through colors faster than the translator could interpret. "That should not have worked," he said finally. "It worked because we understood the system," Hana explained. "You saw a perfect predator. We saw a biological system with inputs and outputs. Heat in, heat out. When those get out of balance, the system fails. On Earth, the largest predators went extinct," Jiho added. "Dinosaurs, megafauna, giant mammals, why? Because size becomes a disadvantage when the environment changes. They could not adapt fast enough. Humans survived ice ages, droughts, and climate shifts because we are adaptable. We learned that bigger is not always better." Velthar was quiet for a long moment. "What is Earth's apex predator?" he asked finally. Jiho considered the question carefully. "Humans," he said. "Not because we are the biggest or strongest or have the best armor or weapons. We are apex predators because we figured out that apex is a myth. Everything dies. Everything has weaknesses. We just got really good at finding them." "You do not fight like predators," Thrix observed. He had been listening from the back of the room. "Predators test strength against strength. You test intelligence against weakness." "That is because we were not always predators," Hana said. "We were prey too, hunted by things bigger and stronger than us. We survived by being smarter, by learning to see patterns, by understanding that every advantage has a corresponding disadvantage." Doyun pulled up images on his pad. "These are the animals that tried to eat our ancestors. Saber-toothed cats, cave bears, giant crocodiles, all of them bigger, stronger, better armed. Most of them are extinct now. We are not. Think about what that means." Velthar looked at the images. His scales had settled into a color that the database identified as deep respect, mixed with existential unease. The Krethians had dominated their world through physical superiority. The idea that such superiority could be a trap was deeply unsettling. "You are not warriors," he said softly. "You are something far more dangerous. You are problem solvers with predator instincts." He paused. "The galaxy should be very grateful you are allies, not enemies." The message came through on a secure channel, garbled and desperate. A Council trade convoy had been ambushed by pirates in the asteroid field near Velris 9. 23 crew members taken hostage. The pirates were demanding ransom and safe passage. Council negotiators were already involved, but the situation was deteriorating fast. Velthar called a crisis meeting. The holographic display showed the mining facility where the pirates had taken shelter. It was an old operation, abandoned years ago but still functional. Defensive systems were still online, multiple entry points all covered. Sensor dampening made it impossible to get an accurate count of hostiles or hostages. "The tactical situation is untenable," Velthar explained to the assembled leaders. "A frontal assault would result in heavy casualties and likely death of the hostages. Negotiations have failed. Council policy in these situations is to wait. Either the pirates will surrender when supplies run low, or they will execute the hostages and flee. Either way, we cannot risk Council forces." "How long until supplies run out?" someone asked. 3 weeks, possibly 4. Jiho felt something cold settle in his stomach. 3 weeks. A lot could happen in 3 weeks. He glanced at Hana, who was reviewing the hostage list on her pad. Her face had gone pale. "One of the hostages is researcher Yuna," Hana said quietly. "The Lumarian who helped me with the atmospheric analysis last week. We had lunch together. The meeting continued around them. Risk assessments, resource allocation, political considerations." The tone was professional, detached. To the Council, this was an unfortunate situation requiring careful management. Acceptable losses had already been calculated. Jiho stood up quietly and left the room. His team followed without a word. They met in their quarters. No discussion needed. Doyen was already checking weapons. Minho was pulling up schematics of the mining facility. Hana was reviewing the pirate profiles, building psychological models. "We cannot let them wait 3 weeks," Jiho said. Council regulations prohibit unauthorized military action, Hana pointed out. Then she smiled slightly. Good thing we are filing this as a training exercise. Thrix found them in the hangar bay, loading equipment into a small shuttle. The Vexian commander stood in the doorway, mandibles clicking rapidly. What are you doing? Going to get them back, Jiho said simply. The facility is impossible to infiltrate. Its defenses were designed to repel armed assaults. You are 4 people with small arms. We are not going to assault it, Doyun said. We are going to hunt them. Thrix's compound eyes studied them. He had learned enough about humans to recognize the look they wore now. It was the same expression they had before walking the Gloom Runner to exhaustion. Cold, focused, utterly committed. One of the hostages is Pack, Thrix said. It was not a question. Yes, Hana said. The Vexian was silent for a moment. His species had a concept similar to Pack, though it was tied to biological hive structures. The idea that humans could form such bonds across species was fascinating and slightly terrifying. I will monitor your progress, Thrix said finally. When you fail, I will attempt extraction. Try not to make my job too difficult. The humans did not fail. They approached the mining facility like wolves stalking elk, not with a direct assault but with patience and psychological pressure. Minho hacked into the facility's maintenance network, which had been poorly secured. Not enough to take control, but enough to cause problems. Power fluctuations started that night. Lights flickering, environmental systems cycling randomly. Nothing catastrophic, just annoying. Constant nerve-wracking. The pirates tried to fix it. They sent teams to check the systems. Each time they found nothing wrong. The problems would stop for a few hours, then start again. By the second day, they were getting paranoid. Hana analyzed their communication patterns. Pirates were not a unified force. They were outcasts from various species, held together by fear and greed. Push the right buttons and they would turn on each other. She identified the weak links. The ones who were scared, the ones who wanted out. On the third day, the life support system developed a mysterious problem. Not enough to be dangerous, but enough to make the facility uncomfortably cold. The pirates bundled up and complained. Their leader sent more teams to investigate. Still nothing. Thrix watched from his monitoring station, amazed. They are not attacking. They are driving them mad. Humans are persistence hunters, Velthar said. He had joined the Vexian to observe. They do not need to be stronger. They just need to be relentless. By the 4th day, the pirates were exhausted. They had not slept properly in days. Every time they closed their eyes, something went wrong. A door would jam. Lights would fail. The temperature would spike or drop. They started seeing threats everywhere. That was when the humans struck. They did not come in guns blazing. They infiltrated during a power cycle, moving through maintenance tunnels that the pirates had dismissed as too small for armed assault. They moved in perfect silence, communicating without words through gestures and eye contact. Doyun took point, his rifle ready but not firing. Jiho moved like a shadow covering angles. Hana navigated using her memorized map of the facility. Minho disabled security systems seconds before they encountered them. They found the hostages in a storage bay, 2 guards outside, both exhausted and jumpy. Doyun and Jiho took them down without a sound. Inside, 23 frightened beings looked up in confusion as the humans entered. We are getting you out, Jiho said quietly. Stay close. Stay quiet. Do exactly what we say. Researcher Yuna, the Lumerian, stared at Hana. You came for us. Of course, Hana said, as if there had never been any other option. You are Pack. The extraction was not clean. They encountered pirates in the corridors. But the pirates were tired, scared, and facing opponents who moved with terrifying coordination. It was not a fair fight. The pirates had weapons. The humans had something better. They had each other. 40 minutes after infiltration, all hostages were secured on the shuttle. The pirates surrendered without their leader, who had fled in an escape pod. Council security arrived to find the situation already resolved. Back at the outpost, Velthar was waiting. His scales were cycling through colors that suggested he was searching for the right words. You violated protocols. You risked starting an incident. You could have been killed. Yes, Jiho agreed. Why? Velthar asked. These hostages were not your responsibility. Several were not even your species. You barely knew them. Why risk everything? Because they were ours, Jiho said simply. One of them shared a meal with Hana. That made her Pack. And when someone threatens pack, we respond. Hana stepped forward. Humans evolved in small groups where everyone depended on everyone else. We developed an instinct to protect our group at any cost. Over time, we expanded what we consider our group. First families, then tribes, then villages and cities and nations. Eventually the whole species. Now we are expanding again. Researcher Yuna became pack when we broke bread together. It is that simple. Thrix clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Your species forms bonds rapidly, across species barriers, based on simple social interactions. This is unprecedented. It is how we survived, Doyen said. Alone, humans are weak. Together, we are unstoppable. We learned that millions of years ago. Some lessons stick. Velthar looked at the rescued hostages who were being treated by medical staff. Several of them kept glancing at the human team with expressions of wonder and gratitude. You do not see them as statistics or acceptable losses. You see them as tribe members worth dying for. Exactly, Jiho said. The council makes decisions based on logic and policy. We respect that. But humans make decisions based on loyalty. We protect our pack, always. Thrix and Velthar exchanged a look. They were beginning to understand what made humans so dangerous. It was not strength or technology. It was the ability to turn strangers into family, and family into something worth fighting for. In a galaxy of competing species, that kind of loyalty could change everything. 3 months after the humans arrived on Velris 9, the planet tried to kill everyone. It started with the animals. Predators that normally avoided each other began hunting in mixed packs. Prey species turned aggressive. The jungle, already dangerous, became a war zone. Scientists recorded behavior patterns that made no biological sense. It was as if every creature on the planet had suddenly gone mad. Then the earthquake started. Small at first, then growing stronger. Seismic sensors detected something deep in the planet's crust, something that had been dormant for thousands of years but was now waking up. Velthar convened an emergency council session. The holographic display showed data that made everyone in the room uncomfortable. An ancient structure had been discovered deep underground, broadcasting a signal that affected animal behavior. The signal was getting stronger. The structure was powering up. We are evacuating, Velthar announced. All personnel will be off-planet within 48 hours. Velris 9 is lost. What about the structure? Hana asked. Can we shut it down? Council scientists estimate it would require a team to descend 8 miles into hostile territory, navigate tunnel systems filled with maddened predators, and somehow deactivate technology we do not understand. Velthar's scales shifted to a color that meant resigned acceptance. It is impossible. We evacuate and recommend the planet for quarantine. Jiho looked at his team. Doyen was already checking equipment. Minho was downloading geological data. Hana was reviewing the structure's specifications. None of them were packing to leave. We can do it, Jiho said. The room went silent. Multiple species stared at the humans. You cannot be serious, someone said. We are very serious, Hana said. The tunnel system is mapped. The technology, while ancient, follows basic principles. The predators are dangerous, but we have dealt with dangerous before. It is a death sentence, Velthar said flatly. Maybe, Jiho agreed. But giving up without trying is also a death sentence. For this planet. For everything on it. Humans do not quit just because things are hard. Thrix clicked his mandibles. If the humans are going, so am I. My scouts can navigate the tunnels. Velthar's scales cycled through colors rapidly. You are volunteering for a suicide mission? I have seen what humans can do, Thrix said. If they think it is possible, I believe them. Dr. Kalara, the crystalline Lumerian who had been quietly observing humans for months, stepped forward. My telepathy can detect creatures before they attack. I will go as well. Velthar looked at the unlikely team forming before him. A Krethian warrior, a Vexian scout, a Lumerian scientist, 4 humans. It was not an army, but it was something. If we are doing this, Velthar said, his scales settling into determined red, we do it properly. I'm coming too. They descended into the depths at dawn. The entrance was a natural cave system that had been partially collapsed by the earthquakes. Getting down meant rappelling, climbing, and sometimes crawling through spaces that barely fit. Velthar's armor scraped against rock. Thrix folded his limbs at impossible angles. The humans moved with practiced ease, as comfortable underground as they were above it. The deeper they went, the hotter it became. The signal from the ancient structure was stronger here, and they could feel it. a pressure in the skull, a wrongness that made even the humans uneasy. Creatures attacked from the darkness. Not organized but relentless. Things that should have fled from a group this large instead threw themselves forward with suicidal fury. Velthar's claws tore through armor plating. Thrix's mandibles crushed bone. The humans fought with calculated precision, conserving ammunition using the environment. What amazed Quilara was how they worked together. Different species, different abilities, different ways of thinking. Yet they moved as one unit. When Velthar pushed forward, Doyen covered his flank. When Thrix scouted ahead, Minho secured the rear. When Quilara warned of approaching predators, everyone responded instantly. "How are you doing this?" she asked during a brief rest. "You have no telepathy, no hive mind, yet you coordinate perfectly." "We trust each other," Jiho said simply. "Velthar handles close combat. Thrix scouts. You warn us. We adapt to what you do. You adapt to what we do. That is how teams work." "But we have known each other for only months," Quilara protested. "My species requires years to build such trust. Humans build trust fast," Hana explained. "We have to. Our ancestors survived by forming alliances quickly. Hunt together once, fight beside each other once, and you are pack. It is instinct now." They reached the structure after 6 hours of descent. It was massive, carved from rock that predated any known civilization. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing with inner light. At the center, a crystalline core pulsed with energy, sending out waves that made their teeth ache. Minho approached it carefully, scanning with every device he had. "This is a terraforming device," he said after a moment. "Ancient but still functional. It is designed to stimulate aggressive behavior in local fauna, probably part of some long-dead species' attempt to accelerate evolution. Can you shut it down?" Velthar asked. "No," Minho said. "It was built to be permanent, but I can overload it, make it destroy itself." He paused. "The explosion will be contained, but it will trigger seismic events. We will have maybe 30 minutes to get to the surface before the tunnels collapse." 30 minutes to climb 8 miles, Thrix said. "Impossible." "Nothing is impossible," Jiho said. "Just very difficult." Minho set the timer. The device began to whine, a sound that rose rapidly in pitch. Minho grabbed his equipment and ran. The team followed, not panicked, controlled, fast. The tunnel shook. Rock fell from above. The creatures that had attacked them on the way down were fleeing now, driven by instinct to escape. The team climbed, jumped, scrambled. When one path collapsed, they found another. When someone stumbled, others pulled them up. They moved with desperate efficiency. 28 minutes in, they hit a blocked passage. A recent collapse had sealed their route. The next exit was half a mile away through unstable tunnels. Velthar looked at the humans. They were already examining the rockfall, looking for weaknesses. "You are going to try digging through solid rock with 2 minutes remaining." "We are going to try," Jiho confirmed. Thrix stopped them. "Wait, there is a ventilation shaft. Too narrow for most of us, but Quilara, you can reshape yourself." The Lumerian stared at the tiny opening. "I can fit, but I cannot help you from outside." "Yes, you can," Hana said. "Get to the surface. Guide the rescue team to our position. They can blast through from above." Quilara flowed into the shaft and disappeared. 60 seconds later, they heard explosions above. Rescue teams, guided by Quilara's telepathic directions, were cutting through the rock. Sunlight broke through. Hands reached down. The team climbed out with seconds to spare. The ancient structure exploded deep below. The ground shook violently, then settled. Slowly, the wrongness faded. In the jungle, creatures stopped their mad attacks and returned to normal behavior. Patterns, Velris 9 was saved. The council held a formal ceremony a week later. Medals, speeches, recognition. But the real change was subtler. The way other species looked at humans had shifted, not with dismissal or amusement, but with respect, sometimes with awe. Velthar gave a speech that would be quoted across the galaxy. "I once believed humans were weak," he said, his scales displaying colors of deep respect. "I was wrong. They are not weak. They are something we have never encountered before. They are predators who think like prey who fight like predators. They combine strengths we thought were opposites. They adapt, endure, cooperate, and refuse to give up. They turn strangers into family and solve problems others call impossible. The galaxy needs what humans offer." The council formally requested human advisors for frontier operations. They asked for human input on first contact protocols. They began studying Earth's history, trying to understand what made humans different. Dr. Quilara published her research. She called it the human paradox, the ability to be simultaneously aggressive and empathetic, patient and decisive, logical and emotional. Most species, she explained, had evolved to be one thing. Humans evolved to be everything. Late one evening, Jiho stood on the observation deck overlooking the jungle. Felris 9 was peaceful now, returned to its natural state. Felthar joined him, as had become their habit. What do humans see when they look at a place like this? The Creathian asked. Jiho thought about it. Home, he said finally. Not the home we came from, but the kind of place that made us what we are. Earth spent millions of years trying to kill us. Ice ages, droughts, predators, diseases, disasters, we survived all of it. Not because we were the strongest or the fastest. Because we adapted. We learned. We refused to quit. Do humans fear anything? Felthar asked. Yes, Jiho said. We fear becoming comfortable, stagnant, safe. Every time in our history when we got too comfortable, we nearly went extinct. So we keep pushing, keep exploring, keep hunting bigger prey, not because we need to, because something in our DNA will not let us stop. Felthar was quiet for a long time. The galaxy thought it had apex predators, creatures at the top of the food chain with no natural enemies. Then humans arrived and showed us that apex is a myth. Everything adapts or dies. Everything has weaknesses. Humans simply got better at finding them. We are not conquerors, Jiho said. We are survivors. There is a difference. That difference, Felthar said slowly, might be what saves the galaxy. We have species that can dominate, species that can intimidate, species that can overpower, but we have never had a species that can simply refuse to be beaten. In the jungle below, a predator roared. It was a sound meant to inspire fear, to make prey freeze and submit. In the observation deck, the human yawned, tired after a long day. Somewhere in the outpost, an alien researcher made a note. Humans, she wrote, do not respond to intimidation the way other species do. When faced with something designed to terrify them, they evaluate it as a problem to be solved. This, she concluded, is why they will change everything.